There's no way that lady's a heartbeat away from the president.
We have seen what can be unburdened by what has been.
There's no way. There's no way someone is not telling her to stop saying that same thing over and over again.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been? Like, she just says it over and over and over again.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
This isn't real. This is writing. Someone wrote this. It seems like a script.
The ability to see what can be unburdened by what has.
Kamala blinked and, just like that, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly teamed up and tore through her reputation like it owed them money. 1 minute she was tossing out buzzwords, the next she was getting verbally demolished on one of the biggest podcasts out there. Things went from Madam Vice President to Madam, please stop talking in record time. If political careers came with seatbelts, she definitely should have buckled up. Want to know how it all unfolded? Stick around, this meltdown is one for the history books.
Her the benefit of the doubt. I did not think she was an idiot. I now think she's a moron. She's not that smart. Forgive me, I'm still one of those people who gets wooed by titles. I'm like, she was the Attorney General of the state of California. You know, like, how dumb could she be? Like, dumb. The answer is very, very dumb is the answer. And I've come to that conclusion just with my own eyes and ears from watching and listening to her. She cannot put two sentences together. I mean, the old man is actually losing his mental faculties. She's just not a smart person. And it concerns me because that's all we have in line of the Democrat.
Picture this. You're relaxing on the couch, half-eaten bag of chips in your lap, when Joe Rogan suddenly starts laughing so hard he nearly chokes on elk jerky, not because he's mocking space travel, but because Kamala Harris just gave a speech so wildly confusing, it sounded like a tongue twister gone wrong. Somewhere between the passage of time and we did it, JoJo loses it. He's convinced it's some kind of performance, arta, politicians take on poetry, minus the meaning. And this is after Trump already set the bar for off-script moments.
Even after Trump went on, they offered for me to come to DC and do a show with Kamala. But even then, it was the same deal. It was only like 45 minutes to an hour. It was not on my set. And I said that, look, he did it here. We should probably do it here. I wanted to release both of them on the same day. This was my goal. And I even offered to do it late that night. So the night that Trump came on, I'm like, what if we do her like when she's done in Texas? They never committed to doing it. I have a whole list of conversations that took place. So this whole idea that we threw over for Trump, incorrect. But I think it's someone trying to cover their ass for the fact that she never...
Joe leans forward, still laughing, and starts riffing. He says this wasn't just a speech, stumble it was like someone hit the scramble button on Kamala's grammar and never turned it off. He jokes that even ChatGPT, high and distracted, while interviewing a neuroscientist, could have made more sense. And the wild part. It wasn't just a slip-up, it was a full-on crash. Like watching a GPS try to reroute mid-drive, then randomly burst into show tunes at every red light.
I have something that I think will be of comfort to you as a Californian, and that is Kamala Harris is gone, but she's not forgotten. And she went out to the LA wildfires as her first post-vice presidency act. And I mean, she had a lovely profundity for those of you out there. I think this is really going to buoy your mood, Sasha. Just take a listen. Take a listen.
Strangers who, in the face of that stranger, they see a neighbor. These are folks who understand the strength and the value of community, which is everyone coming together with a shared sense of purpose and identity as a community of people.
What is she talking about?
Nobody knows.
What is she talking
about? Joe hits the laugh reflex deep on. He paints the picture perfectly. Every time Kamala gets a tough question, she bursts into this loud, awkward laugh like someone just caught her sneaking a cookie. It doesn't come off as nervous, it feels like a comedy routine with built-in sound effects. Is that a glitch in the simulation? He jokes. Is her brain buffering? And honestly, you start to wonder if you need to hit refresh on your whole idea of what political conversation is supposed to sound like.
It's a thing that came out recently. There was a book. There was some book about the Kamala Harris campaign where they talked about her getting on this show. And they said a bunch of things that weren't true. They talked to, supposedly talked to like 150 different people about her and, you know, what happened with her coming on the show. I don't know if it's 150, a lot of people. They didn't talk to us, and which is kind of crazy. And which is like, they didn't even ask. But they said things that just weren't true. One of the things they said that weren't true was that we lied about the day that Trump was coming on. No, we just didn't tell you that Trump was coming.
Then Rogan really gets going. He dives into what he calls the great Kamala Harris vanishing act, the Houdini of the executive branch. She was the second most powerful person in the country, yet somehow harder to spot than a ghost during a blackout. Joe laughs like he just cracked a joke. Where in the world is Kamala San Diego? He jokes that cooking show contestants get more airtime and pressure than she does. At least they have to explain why their souffle collapsed. Kamala, she just disappears and leaves the awkward laugh echoing behind her. He imagines she's hiding in some secret government panic room, surrounded by post-it notes, decaf tea, and a magic mirror that tells her she's doing great. Or maybe she's stuck in a political escape room, with clues written in broken metaphors and logic loops, like, we must do what we have done. Every time someone brings up the border or student debt, she just whispers passage of time and vanishes like a puff of smoke. Then comes the piece de resistance, the legendary Tupac story. The moment that lives in the cringe hall of fame, right next to that one time a politician confused the Constitution with the Wi-Fi password.
She actually said in the Pence-Harris VP debate in 2020.
I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
Joe Biden will not ban fracking because Joe Biden's position was, let's not ban fracking. And he was at the top of the ticket. But listen to how she mischaracterized it. All right, I'm going to go back through it with you. Will you ban fracking? She asked. No. And I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban.
Rogan's face shifts from amused to full-on paranormal investigator. Tupac in college before his first album. Joe's convinced we're not watching a political career, watching the multiverse unravel. He says Kamala's story isn't a resume. It's a Marvel origin story full of plot holes. He jokes that someone needs to narrate her life like a Ken Burns documentary just to make sense of it, all because right now, her timeline feels like a drunk history episode written by a GPS that lost signal halfway through. Then Joe zooms out, grinning like he just saw a goat win a spelling bee, and asks the question everyone's been too polite to say out loud. How did someone this inconsistently coherent end up one heartbeat away from the nuclear codes? This wasn't just a bad hiring decision, it feels like a cosmic office prank that no one stopped. Was there a meeting where the universe, half drunk and bored, handed out leadership roles with a dartboard and a blindfold? Or maybe in April, fool's joke that went to foreign, now everyone's too afraid to admit it's still going.
How dare we say Merry Christmas?
How dare you say that?
How dare we?
It offends
Did
me.
you ever see Kamala Harris do that when she had that
She
speech?
said, how dare you say f***ing Christmas?
You've never seen it?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, let's start with this, because it's so crazy.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
I don't understand the context. So, like, I wish I could be charitable and say, well, there's probably a context where this makes sense.
Yeah, Satan is the Lord of the earth is the
Joe leans back like he's just cracked the last conspiracy theory that still makes sense. He imagines Kamala's resume review went something like, can she string together a sentence? RHH. Has she ever talked about root causes? Without spiraling into a TED Talk about nothing. Meh, you're hired. It wasn't about qualifications, it was about vibes. And apparently, the vibe was yes, but make it confusing. That's where Rogan's roast wraps up. But just as his last laugh fades, the tone shifts hard, like a gavel slamming down in court. The spotlight swings with surgical precision to Megyn. Kelly, gone is the playful chaos now, it's cold, sharp, and surgical. She opens like a magician revealing another magician's trick, but this one doesn't involve rabbits. Just disappearing acts with real policy consequences. She paints Kamala as Houdiniacs instead of escaping straitjackets. She's slipping out of every serious responsibility she's ever been given. She's front and center for ribbon cuttings and selfies with celebrities, but when the border collapses or a diplomatic dinner begins, she vanishes like foam in hot water. Then Megyn zeroes in on her biggest disappearing act yet. The role of borders are a title with real weight, real responsibility, and theoretically, real maps.
As Trump's numbers continue to go up and up and up, and I realize some of the polls are showing him beating Joe Biden now in a hypothetical matchup, he's still very vulnerable. He did not win in 2020, and it looks like it's going to be the same matchup. And honestly, Joe Biden's knocking on, the Grim Reaper's door, and she could be the president of the United States in the next 6 years by default, if things go, in a dark and upsetting way.
Months go by, The border crisis worsens and Kamala Harris is seemingly everywhere but at her actual job. Megyn Kelly's tone is so dry it could sandwood as she breaks down the baffling choice to visit Guatemala instead of heading to Texas. She raises one eyebrow so sharp it could be a weapon and asks the question no one wants to say out loud: was the vice president on a diplomatic mission? Or just out looking for artisan coffee and Instagram-worthy backdrops while immigration officials struggled under pressure? She doesn't need to shout, the absurdity speaks louder than a foghorn. Then Megyn moves to foreign diplomacy. Harris appears in tight, carefully lit photo ops with world leaders only to follow them with her now famous nervous laugh. Megyn breaks it down like a forensic analyst. Do those sentences even know how they're supposed to end? She jokes that European diplomats probably looked at each other like they just watched a magician make coherence vanish. And then, history. Megyn brings up Harris's time as a toughened crime prosecutor, where she jailed people for marijuana, yet now she casually brags about smoking weed while listening to Snoop Dogg. Megyn calls it what it is: open and shut hypocrisy. Like punishing a kid for stealing candy, then turning around and claiming the candy store as your...
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas.
Let me just be the nicest person possible.
Yes.
Like, what could be the reason why
Yeah.
you would say, how dare we say Merry Christmas?
Yeah.
Unless you're playing a character.
These children are not going to have a Merry Christmas.
Unless she's on stage doing a play. She's like, I want to read from my...
Megyn Kelly turns to identity politics, pointing out that being the first woman of color in office shouldn't make Kamala Harris immune to criticism. Diversity credentials don't grant a get-out-of-critique-free card, she says. A good speech should stand on its own, not rely on representation. With sharp delivery, she adds that historic firsts don't come with diplomatic immunity for confusing rhetoric. Her final jab lands hard. The country deserves a vice president who can deliver a full sentence without buffering. Even the subtitles, she jokes, struggle to keep up. Then Joe Rogan jumps back in, his voice gravelly with amusement. The only thing shakier than her approval ratings is her syntax. He says, getting the big laugh. Together, Rogan and Kelly launch into full comedic demolition, pointing out how Kamala's speeches feel like a broken GPS recalculating mid-sentence, losing direction, and occasionally singing nonsense. Rogan ends it with a line that sounds more like a punchline for democracy itself. This isn't politics, it's predictive text, trying to lead the country.
Politico acknowledging today, which has been completely in the tank for Team Harris, acknowledging, quote, she did not break much ground or stray far from her talking points. Maybe it's because of the pathetic display of journalism that came her way. Honestly, I don't even know if we can blame this one on Kamala Harris. I blame it on you. You were...
Kamala Harris doesn't speak clearly in public. Her sentences feel weak and messy, like they're barely holding together. It sounds like her words are struggling to make sense. Megyn, on the other hand, speaks confidently like a lawyer questioning someone who knows they're guilty. She jokes, if Biden messes up one more time, Kamala will become president. That idea is scary, but also sounds like the start of a comedy show. Imagine a show called Madam Vice President, the sitcom Nobody. Ordered. In the first episode, Kamala tries to give a speech but ends up saying the Declaration of Independence backwards. Then they make a funny fake campaign ad with flags and music. And Kamala gives a strange speech that might not even be English. Joe jumps in and says, vote Kamala. Confuse everyone, one laugh at a time. It's like a bad TV ad without even free shipping. He jokes, I'd rather vote for the airport vending machine that stole my dollar. At least it reacts when you kick it.
I always wondered with Kamala Harris, like, I've seen her talk before and she's hilarious.
So the scientists and the astronauts and the mathematicians and the Vice President of the United States.
Some people just clam up
Good afternoon, everyone!
when they get in front of a camera and when they know the whole world's watching and they know there's a lot of pressure, and if they've f***ed up a bunch of times before.
And is that a socialist or progressive perspective?
Like, to be good at public speaking under pressure, you have to have a lot of reps in.
That he is entitled to his opinion.
You got to do it a long time.
She's running for president?
Megyn laughs, but stays sharp. She jokes that Kamala's campaign slogan should be, words we use them, mostly. They come up with more like, leadership you can question, and experience you can't Google. Even a fake laugh track would be too embarrassed to stick around. Then they get real. They say Kamala isn't evil, just very unprepared. So unprepared that even middle school debate students seem more qualified, Joe compares her to a background character in a comedy show, suddenly asked to do brain surgery. She looks the part, wears the lab coat, carries a clipboard, and acts confident, but when it's time to actually do something, she holds the tools wrong and starts talking nonsense. Megyn finishes with a sharp line. Every sentence she says is like a trip, but none of them end where they should. Her words fall apart into messy speeches that don't make sense. They don't yell or insult, they use sarcasm and facts. It's like a slow-cooked roast of her performance. And somewhere in the background, Kamala's approval rating is in free fall, shocked and wondering what happened.
Do you remember that question they asked Trump to kick off his appearance there? Basically, why are you such a raging racist? We know you hate black people. Why are you even here? And how did it go when Kamala Harris sat down? Here's one example, courtesy of Jaron Keith Gaynor of The Griot.
Why is joy important to you to insert into this election? What do you make of Republicans using that as a way to suggest that you're not a
Literally no one is looking forward to a next time. Kelly jumps in sharply, saying, if Biden stumbles again, guess who becomes president? It's not just scary, it feels like the setup for a comedy show. They imagine Kamala, as president, standing on stage to announce Secret Santa names, but everyone is still confused by how she talks. Then they joke about a fake campaign ad, vote Kamala, confuse the nation, one cackle at a time. Rogan, completely serious, adds, I'd rather vote for the vending machine that took my dollar. It actually responds when you press buttons. They all agree she's not mean or evil, just very, very unprepared. Rogan sums it up. It's like giving a sitcom extra the job of heart surgeon. She might look the part, but she's not doing the job, right? And people get hurt. Kelly finishes it off. She only get through a full sentence if you hand it to her in a script. And even then, you'd be nervous. This wasn't a back and forth debate. There were no arguments, just well-timed jokes and clear criticism. Joe used disbelief and humor. Megyn was sharp and didn't hold back.